Hi folks, welcome to this episode of a Predictive Chat with Sir Gavin Williamson. We're joined now with Sir Gavin Williamson and Yehu Ofer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time.
Thank you so much for inviting and having us.
Thank you, Sir Gavin.
No, thank you very much for having us on. Been very much looking forward to joining you.
We want to, or I'd like to start the conversation by understanding a bit about predictive thinking and the state in which it's in the industry and the technology, and there are lots of different avenues we can take this. So, Yehu, I don't know if we want to start with you, and you can just kind of give a brief overview, and then Sir Gavin, we can take it to you, and we can start bashing heads.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take it very briefly. I think that the world is experiencing a dramatic change as part of the AI and big data that is connected to the ability to inhale and process big data in fast rhythms. Part of that is the ability that once you are, there are two issues there. One is the quality of the data and the ability to detect something, and the other one is to extract out of it something with meaning. Okay, and that's part of what we call Industry 4.0 and all the movement of all the industry globally. We see it everywhere. Wherever you can put your hands on a data that is sufficiently reliable and is good enough in order to process it, so you can make out of it diamonds. And that's actually Odysight, if I'm summarizing what it does in 20 seconds. So what we are doing, we have a proprietary sensors that can live in the most harsh environments that there are. Various machines, doesn't matter. It could be in the air, it could be in the space, it could be in the sea, and it could be on land. We collect it through there, and we are having an application and algorithms that can process and evaluate the data and detect and alert in real time. And the last thing, which is we are producing new data that did not exist before, because what we really do is look inside to the machines and actually put eyes inside.
Thank you very much. So Gavin, I'm going to bring you in now, who's joining us virtually from the UK. What are some of the things that you have seen over the last, let's say, decade or so, from where you are, a bit more of a overview and a bit more of a kind of top-heavy view? What are some of the things that have gleaned your eyes?
Well, we're very much experiencing a new industrial revolution, and the speed at which it's moving is phenomenal. And I think a lot of us haven't truly absorbed how this is going to change so much of what we do. It's going to change not just in terms of services we consume, but also it's so rapidly changing the world of which we work as well. And actually, some of those jobs that were always seen as probably secure jobs are going to be sort of very rapidly transformed by AI. And but we've got to embrace it, because you can't uninvent progress. And but you're seeing it in the realms of an area I worked in for a number of years in terms of education, how that's changing people's learning, the world of defence, how that is moving things forward at a pace of knots that I don't think we could have ever have appreciated the development, maybe even 5, 6, 7 years ago. But it is going to be about how we enhance services and how we drive productivity. I was talking to some people who run a very large service-based business. They see AI as the absolute cornerstone of everything that they do. And I think the political classes haven't quite actually appreciated just how that's going to systemically change the structure of our economy. And that's a challenge for us all to start to get to grips with.
Absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of one of the things that the kind of saying where it's, when the light bulb was invented, a lot of candle makers went out of business, but the world got the light bulb. So yes. There's going to be not severe, but there's going to be drastic change. But the world will develop as you said, it's coming, it's happening. There's kind of no avoiding it. With something like predictive thinking and predictive chat and some of these technologies that are anchoring us here today, what are some of the through lines that it can bring different industries? So whether it's in aviation or whether it's in any other sector you've just mentioned, what are some of the qualities that bring it all together?
Well, I personally think some of the qualities is getting things right first time more often. We always know that a car that is produced with machines will invariably have a higher quality than a car that is going to be hand built, because you're able to eliminate you're able to eliminate wastage. You're able to eliminate errors so much more effectively. But I think the challenge is going to be is that how do we make sure that this changing, rapidly evolving sort of technology it is embraced, so that actually not only are we doing things more productively, but actually we're able to do so many things just better, faster, quicker, and we're able to benefit from that as against it sort of being almost our master, if that makes sense. It's but we can't ignore this, and actually, I mean, I sort of touched upon education and defence, but is everything about how we engage with our banks, how we engage in terms of actually, sort of domestic technologies. About Yehu was rightly talking about actually how what Odysight is doing actually can on critical infrastructure, how some of that can be done to sort of make sure that we don't have failures within this system. We can mend it before it breaks. That is something that just one man trying to check 1,000 different points can't do. But AI gives us the ability to do that. That means that we can get to work on time. We can make life easier for ourselves. So it is truly transformational and radical and deeply exciting.
It's okay if I would let's take two examples that came out lately, and let's walk them through. We all heard about the train accident that was in Spain, and not implementing in any way that the Odysight could have solved it, because we don't know yet what was the issue. But what if let's take that I'm taking your predictive way of thinking into an example, into a living example. If we are integrated into the rail switches, okay, that is moving that's the system that actually moves the train from rail to rail, and we are being able to do two things. First is to be able to see a malfunction before it happens, okay, through the sensors and through the application and the ability of the algorithm to detect that there is something there, and in the right accuracy, because you want to know that a problem is a problem. It's not something false that is not there, and it's being done automatically without the human involved within that, using the cloud infrastructure in order not only because the first thing, okay, you detected a failure before it happened, and then you are alerted for that, which is also something that does not happen now because there is no the sensors and not the ability to transmit in no time. So today we are within, let's say, the conservative normal of 99% of all the world, the way that it does all those procedures. A human being is coming inside, he's checking the system for itself. And the second thing, looking into the predictive thing that you said, once we have the data and we alerted that, and we can continue to monitor that over time, so we can look with the algorithmic and with the AI, again, based on the level of accuracy of the information that here is vision, and we can create the tendencies and the trends, and we can actually predict. While we have this prediction in a good enough results that we can determine a decision on, so then we can do the things before it's happening. This is connected right to what Sir Gavin said before, is okay, that's actually a changeover, because if we are doing the maintenance preventive, so we either, if everything is okay, so we don't need yet to replace, and if something is beginning to degrade in a way, so we can let's say prevent the next accident from happening. And that's what predictive way of thinking is based on the data.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that this series of conversations that we're doing seeks to achieve is really understanding the intersection of predictive maintenance technology, technology generally, but also human expertise. And we can't deny or ignore the humans.
The human factor.
Exactly. And that's not going anywhere, right? It's not AI coming for our jobs. It's AI coming to assist the jobs to free it up.
Completely. And think about the environment that the people are working. Think that the environment that someone is working inside an elevator. What does the maintenance guy do? You know, we all have this plaque that is saying this elevator was checked a few months ago, and we are feeling okay with the elevator. But what actually is happening there, and how does it being checked? So actually, the check there is a guy that is standing on the elevator, is with a glove in one hand that is checking that there are no things that are broken, and the other by his feeling okay, and the other thing is going with a flashlight in and out to a 100-store building, and that's the way that is being checked because it was created 50 or 60 or 70 years ago, and they didn't change the procedures. Once we have AI inside, and we have the algorithmic, and we have the ability to change the human eye criteria, which is the entrance criteria for 99% of all the checks that are being done in the world. Check that it's okay, check that it's no leak, check that it's that, check that. So now we have something new. We are bringing in an eye inside. We are having an algorithm on it. We are helping to the human being to do it faster. It doesn't need to be there 2 hours. It can be there less than that. Maybe he doesn't need to be there long. And the quality of decisions is much better. And we are creating both efficiency, safety, and actually better world in many ways.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that the cameras are achieving is spotting things that maybe the human eye doesn't see right away and can help prevent some of those issues. So Gavin, I want to bring you in here and I want to ask you a bit about the implementation of some of these things. So is there a difference in how areas of the private sector would adopt this kind of technology versus areas of the public sector? What are some of maybe the hurdles that might be there, either regulatory or ethical or safety or just implementation? What are some of the pressure points that you may see coming at it from both sides?
Well, I think on the public sector, there's an enormous scope sort of really to embrace this, but it's easier said than done. I mean, we've got to sort of we've got to sort of boil it down. It's really actually trying to target human intervention as to where it's most needed. I mean, as was being described there on something as simple as an elevator, how do we make sure that what is a scarce resource, which is people, and an expensive resource, of how to deploying it to the very best places? And when you look at the public sector, you see vast areas. I mean, I talked about education. Well, AI has the ability to deliver a very bespoke curriculum that is designed actually for that child's needs, not the average child, not the most exceptional child, but or the child that's struggling with maybe special educational needs, but for that person. Then when you look across the whole estate of the public sector, whether that is buildings, whether that is vehicles, whether that's in our armed forces, whether that's right across the scope of what government does. So much of the data we have ends up being very, very dated. So you're often making decisions on quite ancient, quite old data as against current data. But some of the biggest challenges to this is going to be, firstly, imagination. It's translating something that can be done and actually explaining, because you say AI doesn't really mean anything to your average punter on your street. It's something that big tech firms come to. But when we actually start talking about how this can be used to identify people who have maybe rare diseases, or to get an appointment easier at the doctor, or to make sure that the public transportation system runs on time because signal failures can be repaired before they actually even happen, then it starts to feel real. But we'll have a big challenge in terms of imagination. People not really knowing how to apply it. There's also, certainly in the UK, and it's maybe different in Israel and in the US, but there's also a very maybe sometimes overcautious approach, a risk adverse approach to actually adopting and being one of those first adopters of new technology. So this is where the private sector becomes even more important, to be able to say, almost show and tell, say, you can do this and you can make this better. And actually, I think there is also nervousness within workforce as well. And how do you explain that this is something that means that you don't have to check 100 elevator shafts to find the one that is wrong? It's actually how you can go to that wrong one straight away, and actually means that you can work better. But actually, these are opportunities, and it's not just a threat. So there's some big hurdles that we've got, but this is where, the show and tell of demonstrating how this works, how this enhances lives by the private sector is absolutely vital in order to drive that change through the public sector.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point that you've just made about the private sector having to kind of be the leading example for the public sector to follow. I suppose one of the challenges with Odysight.ai's platform is that it seeks to prevent bad things from happening. So how do you where's the proof of pudding there? Like how do you say, well, trust us, it would have happened?
Yeah. No,
where's the proof of concept there?
But you took it to the end. At the end, we want to prevent bad things from happening. Yes, but the value comes from the first moment, and I think that one other sector that I would love that if Sir Gavin would be able to, because I think it's not only in the private sector, also the defense is an accelerator because of the need, okay, and that's being seen globally, and we can see it, and I think that the defense as always will be the first adapter for these kinds of technologies, because it accelerates performance, it gives you more availability, it gives you a lot of more safety, it gives you a lot. But taking it to Odysight, the value chain starts from the day one. First of all, it's the ability to detect something that you did not detect before. So that's value number one. This data did not exist before. You could implement a small sensor or a visual sensor inside and see the actual ability. The second, which is I think is coming immediately, is the ability to lower the downtime of a machine. Okay, because if, for example, you need to check, even in the first check of every machine, you need to go around, open the panels, check that everything is okay, close it again, and that's a procedure that will take you time and effort. So we are saving this time, and we are saving the effort. So that's the second thing. The third thing is about the whole life cycle, because once you are in, all of that is before preventing the next big thing from happening, or the catastrophic. Is there, because if you are being able to operate an elevator without failures, if you can lower the amount of time of the technician or the technician time working, if you can lower the danger in dangerous places of working, because you implement already sensors then, and you can collect the data without them. If you can detect this data, so on the whole value chain of lifetime of any machine or in any system, you are creating more availability, more use platform. At the end, if you are operating a fleet of plane and you're having more availability, so you need to fly less planes in the air, and you are producing less, and you are creating less fuel that is being. So all of that is coming together to the efficiency and the value of what Odysight brings.
Definitely. It's wonderful, and it's a wonderful place to start and see how it all goes on as time goes on. What should organizations or industries be focusing on today to prepare them for this change of the next couple of years? And that question's open to both of you, so whoever wants to jump right ahead first can.
I will always give the floor to Sir Gavin.
Sir Gavin, off you.
Well, and we'll save the informed answer for second. People. There's got to be an investment in people in terms of actually every business is not going to become a specialist in AI, but what every business does need to be doing, and you don't want every business to be a specialist in AI. Your pharmacist is not going to become a specialist in AI, but they need to be able to understand how they're going to be able to access and integrate AI and actually develop the people who are able to have, be able to see where some of the opportunities are for them to be able to do better. James, you made the interesting point of you predict preventing something from happening. So where do you put the value? How do you put a value on that? Actually, every business, whether it's a railway business or whether it is whether you're special forces, actually understands the cost of failure, because from a railway it'll be the number of delayed trains. From a special forces point of view, it might be the cost of life as a result of failure of equipment or an operation not going as it should have done. So I think what businesses best need to be doing is sort of skilling the workforce to one, not to be the ones who are necessarily developing the AI programs, but actually understanding where those opportunities are and then how it starts to integrate into their business. Because actually really understanding the opportunities and making sure that it is implemented and integrated properly is probably going to be some of the big challenges.
No, that's a great point. Is technology enough to make sure that safety is implemented? Is there any other, because we've mentioned about how AI will impact societies and people must prepare for the big change that's coming. So tech can't be enough, like just tech can't be enough, right? Is there any other form of education like we've addressed, or any form of just kind of getting people used to it, because not everyone's such an AI maven?
No, but again, I think that first of all, it's coming.
Right.
Whatever we say, it's there. Okay. So I think that we have to adjust. We have to learn. And the second thing is, at the first day, an AI system, it's like the way that today you can look with AI and prepare things that at the past took you hours or even more than that, and today can take you less than 2 minutes. So the first thing that I think that AI brings as a technology is improvement. Okay, it improves the actual procedures, the actual work. It gives you more efficiency and that's the first test that we need to look at, and that's the technology, and that's the technology that is behind, and it's there. So once an AI system was implemented in a machine or within a company, so the efficiency, it floats immediately, and you can see it. And I think that the second thing is that we need to see AI as something that is it's coming within the work that we are doing today. Okay, it's like that in software development, it's like that in writing, it's like that in contracts, it's like that in medical, it's wherever. It's creating, it reduces the workloads, it gives you better results based on the data. You must have the correct data, otherwise it can give you things that are not there, and it saves you time of things that were not, and it takes out another thing. It gives you the quality, because once the decision is not being made only by the human factor, so once you are lowering the human error not out of the equation, but you can lower the let's say the significance of the human error could have been 100% of before, and now we are adding to that AI. I think that there lies the change that we are experiencing.
Definitely. I mean, some of the people that are most, I guess, apprehensive of this change are people who have been in workforces and positions for many, many years. But of course, there's a whole generation of young people.
No, I just remembered your first example from the light bulb.
Yeah.
After the candle, that was only technology. Okay.
Right.
And it changed completely the event. So it's another technology that is coming.
So this leads me into what I was just saying, which is those kids that were going to grow up to be candle makers. maybe didn't want to become candle makers and saw a world where light bulbs exist, if we're just going to continue the metaphor, and they either used light bulbs in their jobs that hadn't been created yet, or they sought other talents or skills. So young people are at risk of, not at risk of, but they are aware of a workforce that's drastically different from only 10 years ago. So what are some of the things that maybe young people should, and this is maybe a bit more abstract as a question, but what are some of the things that maybe young people should be accustomed to learning? What are some of the skills, the life skills, the professional skills?
No, yeah, it's a great question. In my previous company, there was a course about AI that was being done by a professor from New York, one of the New York universities, and the lady came in and she said, "What is the? I will give you that. In how many houses do you have Alexa in the world?" So people thought and knew, and then the answer is around 500. Let's say between 350 to 500 million houses you have Alexa. The second question was, it's an Amazon issue. The second question was, what was the last buy or the last M&A of Amazon that nobody knew and everybody thought there, the answer there was that Alexa bought a generic medical company in order to develop new medicines. And the third question is what is the connection between the two? And the answer there was, and I will save you the time. The answer there is that actually they took Alexa is recording everything that is within your house. It's part of what you are writing the agreement when you're there, and they connected for the first time the actual behaviors of people or the outcome of the medical use into the development of the new medicine, and they shortened the development of the medicine for around 30%, and they cut out the expenses in around 25 to 30% as well. And when you're looking into the professions of the young generations, so what I think is that it's a changeover, okay? And for sure, a lot of everything that is connected, you need to look into professions like engineering, you need to look into professions like medicine, you need to look at the professions like working with the hands, that is recoming and recapping, because people does not know how to repair like our fathers or grandfathers knew. So that's a changeover, but I think that there lies the area of where to guide it.
There's a great episode of South Park where they demonstrate exactly that, where someone gets a flat tire, so their app can't fix the flat tire.
Cannot.
So Gavin, I want to bring you into this question as well. I want to understand from your point of view, if you were, and you mentioned earlier about the personalization of education, and so every child gets what he or she needs to become the most informed and educated person they can be. What are some of the skills that you hypothetically would want to instill in those people?
Well, my youngest daughter has decided she wants to become a patisserie chef on the basis that people will always be greedy for cakes, and there's going to be no AI intervention at any point soon. But I think we, going back to your light bulb, and this is dominating our conversation, but how that enhances the way that people are able to work, in what conditions, and how they operate, and at the extremes that they operate. We have to think of AI as very much that enhancement to human endeavor and human initiative, because I don't think we should ever underestimate how human beings have that amazing ability to think in a creative way. I see a lot of politicians making AI-generated speeches, and you can generally spot them in terms of the traits and everything else like that. But when it comes to that next generation of young people, I think Yehu is absolutely right. This is in terms of thinking about it's about, say, almost traditional careers, but it's also about thinking of how do we truly master AI to make that the enhancement to doing things so much faster, better, right that first time? If we look at the car making industry, the automotive industry, there's that's been changed, the robotic revolution that the Japanese initiated has been transformative in people's experience. But that doesn't make the career of working in the automotive industry redundant. It still employs millions of people around the globe, but you're actually enhancing that technology to improve the product. I do think that I was talking to a friend of mine who is a program software developer who just 10 years ago was probably most in demand. And, AI is obviously shifting the workforce quite sort of radically in that. But again, I think we've got to be realistic that the days when my father went to work and he had one career all the way through his lifetime, sadly, that's actually gone now. And even sort of slightly ancient people such as myself have to accept that there's probably going to be continuous retraining. So the thing I would say to any young person is you've got to be flexible, because the route and pathway that you think you're going to start off on is going to probably evolve at least 10 times during a 50-year career. And it's going to... you are going to have that continuous retraining. So I wouldn't like to sort of tell anyone to go down one particular path, because invariably it will change probably before they even hit 30.
Yeah, I often find that whenever this topic of conversation comes up, it always kind of stems away from what skills people should be learning, but what traits people should be enhancing. So I always thought it was things like agency, curiosity, public speaking, I thought was always a good one. So it's skills that can't be coded, or traits that can't be coded. Although I suppose maybe everything can be coded.
It's true, but it's also, that's why I said engineering is one of them, because I think that engineering is one of the fast moving professions from one hand, but from the other hand, the way of learning of let's say, the way that you are learning how to develop, the methods that you are having, the ability to think in an organized way and to create things, new things, and just to accelerate them. That's one example. That's one example that is. I think that the methodics and the ability to use AI in order to. And not to say, okay, AI will change and we don't need the abilities, or we don't need the qualities. I think it's the opposite. It will be needed in the coming, I don't know, 20 years for sure.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and it's a time of like transformation.
You remember what's the name of the guy that is writing in New York Times? The guy who wrote The World is Flat. He's a very famous journalist, from Tom Friedman.
Oh yeah,
Tom Friedman. So he said always that when he wrote the book, The World is Flat. So he said that when he was a child, and I think that he was in Minnesota or something, that maybe I'm misspelling the name of the state, but his mother told him that he needs to finish the food in his the food that is being served for dinner, because there are hungry children in Africa and in Asia, and you need to do it. And he's saying to his daughters today that they need to learn very well, because otherwise people will come from China and from Southeast Asia, maybe from Africa, and will take their jobs. So that's part of the change that the world is moving in. And that's why I think that to have the basic skills and to learn and to educate will be accelerated by AI.
Well, that's a whole other conversation as well about the ownership of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So which region or which country or which culture is going to ultimately end up dominating our LLMs or our outputs and our data collection. So Gavin, do you have any thoughts on any of those teeny tiny topics I've just mentioned?
Well, those very small topics about the geopolitics
Right.
and how it's all going to shift. to preserve national sovereignty for all nations, I think they're going to end up, every nation is going to have to develop AI capacity in order to be able to have certain sovereign capabilities that they wish to defend. And we're entering a new era of very rapidly shifting global politics that I think even an AI model would sometimes struggle to completely guess as to what the next turn is going to be. But there's certainly quite a few options. But this is where we've got to continue developing our human resource. I mean, the world is really lacking, especially developed democratic nations, really lacking core engineering competencies that we maybe had 100 years ago, but we've actually sort of seen an erosion of. But we've also got to make sure that sort of new technologies we're training up, and we've probably got to be more directive. Governments have to, in terms of actually where are some of the major gaps, because the market itself will, especially if you're in a country which hasn't got such a developed sector, that all the talent and all the skill potentially could get sucked into a few very small geographical places, which actually won't be good for anyone. And so I think all national governments have got to be thinking of how do you develop the talent base? How do you develop the ecosystem to support that talent base? Because there's no point in people having the talent but no jobs to go to. Otherwise, they all end up in California or other countries around the world. So it is a big role that government needs to play if you want to have a more equal distribution and benefit of what AI is going to bring.
Who would you say is the region in the world that currently has its best grasp on that? I mean, you have...
That's a question for Sir Gavin, not from me.
I don't know.
Well, I was going to say the exact same answer as that one. I think that, superficially, sort of at certain levels, the US, obviously, so clearly sort of leading the way. But I think what you see states such as China that understand how vital this is going to be for their national security efforts and their continued development, which is making it a whole state mission. And you've seen how effective they can be in terms of domination of areas such as green energy and sort of solar and various others. And that's something that is very difficult for a company. I mean, obviously you've got some US companies that are literally states in themselves by their size, scope, and reach. But you're seeing the Chinese who understand how, it's difficult for many other companies to be able to compete at that level. So that's where you're seeing people such as the PRC, People's Republic of China, putting such an effort into that. And I think they will catch up very quickly because they know how vital it is. And it's not something that you can opt out of. It's not something you can hope just passes and goes away. It's here for generations to come.
That definitely reminds me of what Macron just said, actually, when he spoke today or yesterday, or I suppose some point in the past, depending on when the listeners or viewers are going to see this. But he got up on stage and he said, we are Europe. We may be slow, but we are reliable and we're united and we are this and that. And he gave a very pro EU stance on innovation and AI. And I don't know what's more correct, to be kind of slow and safe or fast and innovative. And I don't know, the world seems to be a bit too chaotic for perceived stability.
I don't think that slow will work anymore because we are in a very accelerated world. Think about, just talked about Macron, think about the car industry and the entrance of the Chinese car into Europe, for example, and what's happening there. But I think that we need to understand that it's here, and whoever runs faster will win. It's not only the applications, it's also the actual baseline. It all will come at the end to the algorithmic level, or to the ability to implement a good algorithm on good data. And from there, you can do almost anything. So
Yeah.
that's where it is.
Building those foundations.
Yes.
So that they're safe and stable and scalable.
Look at the world. Safe and stable are in a way it's a word of the past, no?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, all we can do is hope that I can't remember who said it once, but it was like someone was asked if he was scared of artificial intelligence ruling the world. And his response was, I just want to be ruled by intelligence. So, you know, it's also who we put in charge of these decisions to help us with that. Guys, I'm afraid we're running out of time. This conversation flew by and we're running actually a bit over. So Gavin Williamson, I want to thank you so much for your time and joining us today. Yehu Ofer, of course, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And it was a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
It was.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.